order Nigerian government under pressure to release Nnamdi Kanu. Welcome to the news and thank you for tuning in to listen. Please subscribe to our channel. Nigerian authorities are facing pressure to release the embattled leader of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, following an order from the United Nations that the separatists should be released. Kanu, who is currently facing trial, has been in the detention facility of the Department of State Services (DSS) in Abuja, the nation's capital, for about 14 months. After his interception and rendition from Kenya by Nigerian authorities. However, the United Nations Human Rights Council's Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, in its decision contained in Opinion Number 2522, has reportedly asked the Nigerian government to release Kanu unconditionally and compensate him for the abuse and torture he has and continues to suffer. Mr. Bruce Fain and Prof. Rachel Murray, Kanu's foreign lawyers, alongside his special counsel, Aloy Ejimako, led efforts leading to the United Nations directive. Speaking on the latest developments, Chairman of Igbo Lawyers Association, ILA, Chief Chuks Moma, a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, had said Nigeria was bound to obey the United Nations directive. Moma said it would be intentional scandal if Nigeria refuses to obey the United Nations directive for Kanu's release. It would be international scandal to disobey a directive from such an organization like the United Nations, so it has to carry out its membership obligations by obeying to release and pay adequate compensation to Kanu as directed, Moma said. The United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, which rendered the opinion on Kanu as a quasi-judicial body that has the legal mandate of the United Nations to consider and adjudicate human rights petitions against member nations of the United Nations. Ejimako explained further the opinion is legally binding on Nigeria because the decision is based primarily on human rights standards set by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to which Nigeria is a signatory. Additionally, Nigeria, in addition to ratifying the United Nations Charter, has also ratified other human rights instruments that require it to comply with opinions like this. Ratification is a means by which a nation makes itself subject to international laws and treaties, and by the provisions of Section 12 of Nigerian Constitution and a plethora of decisions by the Supreme Court of Nigeria, ratification makes Nigeria subject to whatever it ratified. It goes without saying, therefore, that as a bona fide member of the United Nations, Nigeria is subject to decisions issuing from the United Nations bodies. Nigeria is thus duty-bound to implement this decision in its letters and spirit, and is expected to do so promptly. Okay, it is no longer news. If you have been following this, the indigenous people of Biafra movement and their news, you will hear that the United Nations has given an order to the federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra agitation group. They have told the Nigerian government to release him unconditionally, and apart from releasing him unconditionally, they should ensure they compensate him for whatever they have done to him, for infringing on his rights and also keeping him in detention for over 14 months now. So now, it is now a very difficult position. In fact, to me, I would say the federal government they're in a very difficult place. They have to find a way to release him, because not releasing him, United Nations has this, this power, and dealing with Nigeria is going to be, permit me to say, it's going to be like more case. So we are going to keep watching the federal government to see if they're going to put us in problem, because at the end of the day, if the federal government refuses to obey the directive of the United Nations, The United Nations are going to place some certain things in place. And my dear people of Nigeria, all of us will fall on. No. It is not even going to fall on just the Nigerian government. It will fall on we be citizens. So let these people make sure that they do whatever they are told to do. Okay, it is wickedness on the side of the federal government for detaining Nnamdi Kanu for about 14 months without bail on conclusion to his trial. As a result of this, the federal government must obey the United Nations order by releasing Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally, since Nigeria is a signatory to United Nations. UN's order is binding on Nigeria. I so much agree with you. UN's order is binding. And to me, waiting then they try, for crying out loud. How do you keep somebody? I've said it before. Is there a compensation for somebody who maybe the person has been on trial for, let's say, for 1 year, for 2 years, and later the person was finally acquitted? I beg, I don't want to believe that, you have kept somebody in detention, away from his family, away from friends. You detain the person for, let's say, for about a year plus or 2 years, and at the end of the day, you find that person was actually innocent. What exactly are these things are what you're going to use to compensate? I don't want to believe that, if they say you are free, they'll just release you like that. If you are somebody who was working, of course, your appointment, they go down relieve you of your position. If you're somebody who is in business, your business, if it's a one-man business, if you're just starting out the business, the business, before you know it, you understand, it would have gone down. So there should be certain things so that you don't just, it will also make the police themselves too. Whenever they're picking someone, they make sure they make the investigation so as not to just pick anybody because they know that they could pay. To me, if that law is not in place, I think it should be in place. Then I also made notes of, okay, fine, if the person is now guilty, and maybe they want to sentence the person to, let's say, like 3 years or 4 years, are they going to tell me now that during the years of trial of that particular person now, let's say you tried the person for 2 years, and you find out the person was guilty, and maybe the person was supposed to serve 2 or 3 or 4 years in prison. I beg, please, I want to ask you, may they know this, lawyers in the house, is the person going to serve the total 4 years, or they will minus or deduct the 2 years the person has, used for his trial? Because to me, if you ask me, that the years where they don't, whether they pursue the case, they're supposed to minus them. Me, I'm just trying to be fair here. Lawyers in the house, they should let me know, I stand to be corrected. All right. These stories to me do not add up. Tell me the difference between Kanu kidnapping and that of the president of Amazonia. Truth is that Nigeria must be destroyed, and lawyers should stop toying with her emotions. Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years and nothing happened. Where people are killed by Nigerian government, you are hyping melee detention. Where domestic interest, domestic law, conflict with the international public law, domestic law will be superior. Americans go to countries and kidnap even presidents, kill people and nothing happened, talk less of Kanu. These criminals must stop toying with our emotions. We are not stupid. Okay, that's your opinion. On this note, you have come to the end of the news. We say thank you for tuning in to listen. Until I call you next time, enjoy the rest of your day.